Good evening. I'm Allison Phelan, Vice President of Government Relations at BECU. I'm thrilled to be your moderator this evening for this portion of the program. Please join me in welcoming BECU's executive team to the stage.
Just like the white-winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Just like the white-winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing.
You've all had an opportunity to get to know our new CEO, Beverly Anderson, and now it's time for you to get to know and ask some questions of the rest of our executive management team. To start off, we're going to begin with introductions, and please let us know what your role here at BECU is as well. Tom.
Sure. Good evening. Thank you all for coming. My name is Tom Berquist. I lead our marketing and social impact teams.
I'm John Stewart. I'm the Chief Risk Officer.
Good to see you all tonight. I'm Doug Marshall, responsible for our digital and product teams.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Melba Bartels, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer.
Hello, my name is Rick Isle, and I'm the Chief Data and Analytics Officer.
It's great to be here tonight. My name is Funbi Chima, and I'm the Chief Technology and Transformation Officer.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. And my name is Scott Strand. I'm the Chief Operating Officer, and I lead our lending businesses and the NFCs and our contact center.
Thank you all. And thanks again for you all being here. Before we get started, we'd like to take a moment and recognize and honor our BECU board members here tonight in the audience. Deborah Somberg, Will Dougherty, Drew Wolf. Please. Now for the main event, unfettered access. You all get to ask questions of this dynamic executive team in front of you this evening. We have a couple of brave BECU employees with microphones who will be making the rounds, so please feel free to wave your hand, ask a question, and we look forward to the discussion. While we are warming up the microphones, we are going to kick off this discussion with a question we received from a member just this evening. And Melba, I'm going to start with you. How is the interest rate environment for BECU members, our business members, and on the consumer side, changing?
Wow, that's a great question. I think Bev mentioned earlier about how turbulent the times have been over the last couple of years, and certainly the interest rate environment has reflected that. Up until about 18 months or so ago, I would say that we had been in an extremely low, almost historically low rate environment for a very long time. And then the Federal Reserve recognized the fact that the inflation that we were seeing during the pandemic was not transitory. In fact, it was sticking around. And so they set about looking to fight that inflation and bring it down. And so we went through a period of rapidly rising interest rates at a pace, I think, that at least in my lifetime and my time within the banking industry, which is, I have Bev beat by a few years, so I'm pushing on 40 years of experience, that we had not seen. And so it was pretty unprecedented. And we know, so clearly it's been something that we've been very focused on and managing. And we know that our members experience rising rates in different ways. So if you're a deposit, primarily deposit member, you like the increase in rates. If you're member that has loans, you're not, as positive about the rise in interest rates. So what we're seeking to do as we manage through the interest rate environment and the rising path of rates is to balance the impact for our members in a way that helps ensure that we continue to provide member value that's differentiated. And of course, we do that not just through rates, but also through almost no to low fees, right, in comparison to some of our big bank competitors. And at the same time ensures that we can continue to support the profitability of the credit union in a way that ensures that we can continue to have safety and soundness and a very strong financial footing, which again, I think Bev had spoken to earlier in the evening.
Right. Thank you, Melba. I believe we have a member question from the audience. Tisha.
They got nervous.
we have plenty of questions that we sourced before our conversation this evening. So happy to ask another one of those and elevate another member voice in this moment as well. Scott, we heard a little bit earlier from Beverly talking about our branches. What can we expect in terms of branches opening in our communities to better serve our members?
Yeah, great question. And indeed, Bev touched on that earlier. Mentioned that we are going to open a branch NFC in Columbia City, 407 block of Rainier Avenue. That's going to be at the end of August. Also in Monroe is another one we have coming. And Bev doesn't even know this yet, but I'm bringing her a lease tomorrow for a branch in Gig Harbor, which is one of the locations that we've been really wanting to get into for a long time. And so, you know, the bigger theme around this is just we're really excited to accelerate our investment in all of our channels, including the NFCs. We didn't add NFCs during the pandemic because a lot of the traffic dropped. And so we're on an ongoing basis looking at the right markets and the right locations. And in addition to kind of investing more in our NFCs, you'll see bigger NFCs, more of them, bigger NFCs. And we're continuing to try to adapt and learn. One other thing that we've done is add teller capability in Spokane. We didn't go into that market with it, but now we've got cash availability, teller-like capability there. Bev mentioned earlier, you might have heard her say that BECU started with cashless branches, which is very innovative. But at the same time, in markets like that or markets in areas here, we want to adapt and learn and make sure that we have the right infrastructure and the right services by each location to serve our members that they want. In Pierce County, for example, is one where we want to put a full-service NFC and financial center in. It wouldn't be as big as Grand Central, I love that, as TFC, but with teller capability there. And so you could expect to see, accelerated investment, more locations, different types, and all the right services for that particular location in that community.
That's great. Thank you, Scott. Exciting times again for us. All right. Don't be shy. Don't let the sport coats fool you. We do have a member question over here, please.
Hello, my name's Alex Hamling. I've been a member for about 10 years or so, initially through auto loan, and then I got hooked on these early saver programs for my two daughters, and I was just wondering if there's any thought to expanding those programs, increasing interest rates, education that I can teach my daughters who are in elementary school at this point, and how that may grow and how money works in the world.
So great, Alex. Thanks so much for your question, and more importantly, thanks for your membership. We appreciate the opportunity to serve you. I think that's a great question, Tom, for you.
I may also have Doug help me on this, but I think as you may have noticed over the last year or so, we have brought that initial interest rate back up to that 6% level, which is meaningful, especially for a kid who's just starting out. You can really show them the power of interest, the power of compounding. They can actually see dollars and cents in that account. So we were delighted to do that. And that was probably one of the first accounts, quite honestly, that we moved up because we know parents realize that's a powerful teaching tool. And I would say there's an opportunity for us to do more outreach in terms of webinars and seminars geared for parents to teach their kids. We have a lot of programs that are designed, I would say, for middle school and up. Things like virtual reality fairs, programs that teach kids basic budgeting and things like that. But I do think there's an opportunity perhaps to look a little bit younger audience and bring the parents along with that. So I'll take that as a suggestion, maybe to do a bit more. But again, I don't, Doug, do you have anything else to add on the early saver?
Just quickly, less about early saver, as much about how do we help anyone. And I actually now have 3 grandchildren, believe it or not, so I'm very mindful of the need to start early. And one of the ways we think, and we've talked about this, we can do this at scale is digitally. No surprise from the digital guy. So things that we do today, analog, we can scale that and provide tools, to people like members like you, so you can talk with your kids, your children, and help them get more educated earlier at scale. Is the only thing I would add. So thank you for the question.
All right. Oh, looks like we have another member question here.
Hello, thanks for hosting. My name's Katerina. I work in the corporate sustainability field, so I'd love to hear more about what BECU is doing, what type of targets you're setting, kind of what goals you have for 2030, 2050.
Sure, I'll take that. We have been on a journey for a while. As you may know, we have been measuring our carbon emissions for over 10 years now. We continue to do so, and probably no surprise to you, we have seen a pretty significant drop in our emissions from pre-pandemic levels based on obviously different work patterns. One of our biggest components of our carbon is employee commute. Biggest is grid energy. And I think what we are doing now, I think we are continuing to look at how we can help reduce our numbers, especially on the commute. So we offer Orchid cards to all employees. We have a Lyft Last Mile program. I don't know if you've read about that. So if a employee takes light rail to a station and they're a mile or two away, they can get a free Lyft ride to BECU, to their place of work. So we continually look for things like that. We are also, something we're starting to embark upon with a group of about 30 other credit unions, is trying to position credit unions to be a recipient of a lot of the EPA funds that are out there. We think we provide, credit unions provide an exceptional delivery channel to deliver loans to folks for whether it's heat pumps, solar, whatever it is. And we can use those EPA funds to either discount the rate or loan loss to serve more folks. And whether or not BECU does that directly, we are working with, like I said, a consortium of credit unions to make credit unions an available service for the EPA funds. As far as targets, there's actually work underway. We actually have, I don't know if Natasha's here, who leads our sustainability efforts, to really think about what those are. We do, right now we offset, we're one of the longest partners with Forterra's Evergreen Fund, our carbon offset fund. I think we've offset over 20,000 tons of carbon over the last 10 years. I realize that's not the be-all, end-all answer, right? So we do have work on the targets. And I think we even think bigger than just our footprint. We start thinking about the indirect piece in terms of, we know we fund a lot of automobile loans. And so how do we think about the indirect impact of our activity? So we're thinking about that too in terms of what types of loan products we could have, how we can incent certain behaviors in members. So I think there's a lot of activities. We have not taken that step to get to carbon, though we were just talking about what it would mean to get to zero. And it's definitely doable, probably well before 30, quite honestly. So we could beat the current challenges out there right now today.
Thank you, Tom. Tisha, another question.
Will you use AI to help with trading platforms and creating something to where people can use AI through BECU to grow their money?
That's a great question. I think, Fumbi, I will kick that to you.
Ooh, yeah. Thanks, Bev. As I think Bev had said earlier on, generative AI is up and coming. I think we need to evaluate how we want to use it responsibly for our members. I think we are at the stage of evaluating what that is and how we use it effectively. I think there's a lot of financial services. I mean, I speak to colleagues out in the industry to say, how do we even define what those policies are? And it's still not quite, robust yet. So I think we're still very much in the early stages. There's a lot of innovation that we're going to be applying and looking at to see how do we make the member experience a lot easier. What factors do we need to do to help influence attracting members and retaining members and making that experience more purposeful for them? It's still very early days, right? We use AI for process automation into making efficiencies. I'm not quite sure we're there yet to now say how we're going to use it to generate revenue. But, Doug is my partner here from a digital standpoint, and he's always coming up with great ideas. So what do you think?
Nice segue. Thank you. No, actually, all joking aside, less about the specific question, how might we use it to help members optimally invest? We are exploring together immediately. We today, as many of you know and many of you may use, we offer chatbot capability, right? Rather than calling the contact center, you can just have a chat. Clearly, large language model, generative AI is a great application that will allow us, again, to go from offering maybe 15 to 20 chat experiences to several hundred. And that's something we're actively exploring with Fumbi's team and our partner in that. We're really excited about it, but again, thoughtfully, carefully, and cognizant of the risks with it as well.
I mean, disruption is a good thing, right? But we just need to make sure, especially when it comes into fiscal responsibility, we have to make sure that we continue to be, an organization that members feel trusted in, and we're not necessarily going to be off the bleeding edge consistently. The things that we do bleeding edge, but this is one we've got to go in with our eyes wide open and be cautious about.
Yeah, no, I would just add on the back end, hopefully invisible to the member, but still improving the member experience. There's all kinds of use of artificial intelligence and machine learning and fraud detection. So kind of learning what are normal patterns of transactions, what could be fraud, and to jump in right away to protect the member's funds. Also in cybersecurity, there's all kinds of applications. So I think over the years as we evolve, you'll see it show up in a number of areas at BECU, hopefully all improving the member's experience.
We have one right here, and then we'll get you
great.
right next.
Hi, I've been a BEC member for 5 years. I've had one since high school. And due to BECU being a leader in the technology space for finances, and due to the recent scares with all the skimmers out there, are we going to see contactless BECU debit cards?
Great question.
I think I know who has to answer that one. Thank you for the question. For those of you who don't know, before I answer it, we do that today. You have that today, of course, on your credit card. And the plan is within the year to offer that same capability on the debit card. As Bev mentioned earlier in some of her high-level remarks, that's subject to the prioritization. We have a lot of work to do, some of it foundational, some of it less so, and that'll be subject to that as well. But the current plan is to, within the year, start to deliver that to our members. For both, as you mentioned, security purposes, but also ease of use, right? A tap is much easier than a swipe. So that's our current plan. Thanks for the question.
Another question.
Hello, everyone. My name is Derek. I've been a BECU member for about 15 years. IT guy, you are very popular tonight because all these buzzwords coming around. So we've mentioned about VR. We've mentioned about remote tellers. My concern is more on, you touched a little bit about it on the back end, server stability, and especially with, cyber hackers and that sort of aspect of it. Obviously, we want to make sure that everything is not compromised, everything is, stable from the word go. I'm kind of curious on the cyber end of it, the cybersecurity aspect of it, stability for the customers, because obviously innovation is great, but it isn't going to do jack if it isn't stable and will protect the consumers.
Do you want to start? Or? Do you want to start?
And I'll pick up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would love to kind of kick off with some. So it's such an important topic, and certainly cybersecurity and protecting our members' information is just of paramount importance. And I mean, in fact, I see a number of BECU employees in the audience, and this is a lot of what they focus on. So if I can just give a quick plug of kind of here's what members can do, and then hand it off to Fumbi, and she can talk about some of what we do internally. So, and as many of you may know this, but some basic things: don't recycle your passwords across multiple websites. Use a complex password. There's a great article on BECU.org about how to create a complex password. I suspect you're a more advanced user, but if a website offers multi-factor authentication like BECU does, definitely use it. And if they don't offer multi-factor authentication and you're giving them sensitive information, I would be pretty cautious about using that web service. So we want your information protected wherever it is, especially at BECU, but those other compromises can put your information at BECU at greater risk. And then very last would be sort of a public service announcement that we will never contact a member and ask for your password, ask for your social security number. If you're worried about a call, it's completely appropriate to end that call. Look up the BECU contact information on our website, www.becu.org. Call us up directly and talk to us about whatever your issue is. rather than speak to somebody and you're not quite sure who they are on the phone. So let me start off there. So thank you for the question, and then hand it off to Fumbi on
He
the
just
stability.
finished the whole thing up for me,
Sorry.
including
Sorry
the
about that,
public
Fumbi.
service department. But on a more serious note, we do have a 24/7 monitoring system, right? That we watch and we track and we trend it against the financial industry, just to make sure that we are definitely up to par in task around that. And we spend a lot of time collaborating with law enforcement and other cyber organizations, just to make sure that we really, I mean, this is an area that I know Bev's going to talk about. She has a real passion around compliance and security, because back to we're responsible, right, for the members' financial money. So it's something we take very, very seriously, and we do not take any shortcuts around it. So thanks, John, for telling my story.
The only thing I'll say is I've been here for 6 months, and one of the first things we started to do as a team is get really serious about the work that we need to do and continue to do around cybersecurity, disaster recovery, data privacy. And that work is important. It is of our new set of priorities on the top of the list. And we've got a whole host of team members who are working hard at this every day. If we can't create a resilient technology infrastructure for our business and for our members, then we can't do anything else. So it's the most important place that we're focusing on. It's the place where we're investing, and I really appreciate your question, because it gave me a chance to say again, for not only the team to hear, but for all of you to hear how important this is for us. So thank you.
Thank you for the question. Thanks for being a member as well. Another issue and topic that is top of mind, we talked a little bit about the protection side, cybersecurity, fraud, et cetera. But we touched upon, you've heard from Bev a little bit about innovation and creative ideas and approaches to serving you in various ways. So Doug, please let us know what are ways that BECU is thinking about innovating products, service delivery, and maybe that other financial institutions are considering offering their customers and or members.
Thank you for the question. And Fumi, you can certainly chime in after. Maybe the simplest way to answer it is with a bit of a framework. First of all, I think it's an important question, because it says you expect us to be, as we were when we first started, innovative. So that's an important thing. The way I'd frame it is, and you heard Bev refer to some of this earlier as well, we start by just paying deep, I call it deep and close attention to 3 C's, right? The customer, in our case, it's you, the member, and what you need and what your pain points are. The second is the competition, fintech, whoever it is, what are they doing, what's different, how might we get ahead of them? And then the third, just because it's a C, is capabilities, which is really technology, but it wouldn't be a C if it was a T. So it's capabilities. We monitor those deeply, and when those 3 things converge and we see a gap or an opportunity, we then go to what we call a POC, proof of concept, or a pilot. And for example, last year we did 34 of those. We currently have about 6 of those underway. And then we iterate, and we have a very, very strong, I hear you use the word excitement a lot. One of the things I'm really excited about is our UX team. They're so good at what they do. So when we put that out in front of you, the member, we iterate quickly, and we make it better and better and better. And when it is ready, that's a thing to be, kind of quantified, we then put it into the market and see what happens, and then continue to kind of iterate on that on top of it. So the other thing finally we do is, that's how we do it, and I can give you examples at the reception. I'd love to talk about this, as you can tell. We also then partner. We can't do it all ourselves, and the CoMotion partnership we have with the University of Washington is a great example. We just selected 3 new fintech partners to partner with us and to help them over the next year to provide capabilities that we can ultimately put in front of you, the member. So with that, Fumi, what would you add?
No, I think that's right. I think we have to live in a world where it's all about collaboration, right? And gone are the days when financial services, you try to fix it by yourself. You realize you spend more time doing it, and then everybody's ahead of you. So that collaboration, especially the partnership that we're doing with the CoMotion team, has been really phenomenal. It's about failing fast, knowing what it works and what doesn't, and then quickly iterating. I think that's really what's gotten us here. And I have to build it and keep it 24/7.
Yes, please.
And secure, so that's good.
Well, speaking of innovation and keeping pace with our partners, but certainly keeping up with your needs and desires and wants from your financial institution, we recently brought on board, and Beverly, under her leadership, built out a new data and analytics division within BECU. And Rick, my friend, what can our members expect from you and your team moving forward?
I thought I was going to get away without having to say it.
Is that a hazing?
But no, I'm super excited to be here. And I've been here just 4 months and just right behind Bev and her journey. And the receptivity that I've gotten joining BECU and the community here and serving our members. So it's a very different experience coming from the commercial banking industry and coming into the cooperative and being able to think differently of how we serve our customers in a really positive fashion. And what I'm excited about from a data and analytics perspective is that data fuels everything that we do in support of our members and our team members and the products and services that we deliver out on a daily basis. And there's lots of great work that has come and been done before my arrival, but I hope I can be a catalyst and to help lead more innovation in this space, supporting all of our business partners so that the impact for our members and our team members is going to be faster, better products and services that benefit you on a daily basis.
Thank you, Rick. And yes, that was a little hazing, so good sport. We're going to pivot a little bit at a question that comes up in various ways from you all, from our members, but from stakeholders and partners. What are we doing to address in our way our housing crisis? You all understand certainly, probably very acutely, what the housing crisis means for Washington State and certainly beyond. So Tom, if you could share, what are we doing to address in our own way some of our housing challenges?
Sure, as you said, it's no surprise, or everyone's aware of the terrible challenge this area faces when it comes to housing. When we think about housing, we think about it through a couple lenses. One, the direct member. What can we do to help our members gain access to housing? So it's offering a wide variety of mortgage products. You may also know we offer a grant program for first-time home buyers, which it has a pretty significant impact for folks to help them get into homes. So those are two ways we think about our members. We think about it quite a bit when we do our philanthropy work. Our philanthropy work is really focused on financial well-being, and we know that housing is a key pillar to someone's financial well-being. So we do work with nonprofits that offer supportive housing and affordable housing, folks like Housing Hope, Habitat for Humanity, SNAP over in Spokane. You heard about some of the work the foundation is doing through the housing stability grants. And that program was an interesting angle because oftentimes we think about building more units, which we absolutely need. The housing crisis is a supply issue, period. We need to create more units across the entire housing spectrum to help solve this problem. But we often don't think about how we keep folks in their homes. Because as you heard in the video, try to help people stay housed and not become homeless. So that program was designed to go after a very specific niche to help people work with nonprofits that are helping people stay in their homes. I think the third piece is something that's a little bit new to BECU, and that's how do we think about using, and you heard about this too a bit, the commercial real estate expertise we have, or our investing capabilities. Credit unions typically have not been involved in the low-income housing tax credit market in terms of building large multifamily units, but we are starting to do so now. We partner with other credit unions. With a partnership with the Seattle Foundation, have created a housing fund to help get some of these programs across the last mile of funding, for example. And then also Scott's team has done just a brilliant job of identifying a niche in the marketplace to help developers develop some of these, build these, but also oftentimes when homes come off of the tax credit, they are at risk of going to market rate and not staying affordable. So we've developed a loan program that allows those property owners to keep those properties as affordable housing for the length of to extend the property. So two great programs from the commercial real estate side of things. So and I will say, it's just not, it takes all of us. It takes all the banks, it takes all the credit unions, it takes all the nonprofits to try to figure this out. So we're just trying to figure out new ways in which we can help folks. Thanks for the question.
Yeah. I think I also would like to add from the government relations side is we've been able to also interface with our elected officials and really talk about the work that we've been doing in terms of, not only getting homeowners into homes and keeping them there, but I think also identifying some new partnerships. And so we've been pleased to lead the way and also partner with some of our other credit unions and financial institutions. So had to get a plug in there for the policy work as well. I think we have time for maybe a couple of additional questions. This is a really kind, shy group. Yeah. Okay. There's a cue here that your MC has missed. Oh, excuse me. One more question, please. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. Happy to be here. I've been a member at BCU for about 8 years. My name's Haley. I'm really curious. I work for a small business in Seattle, and one of the things that has been a big part of the economy over the past 3 years that we haven't really talked about yet tonight is just the weird labor market and how employee tenure has been affected. There's lots of turnover, and I'm curious if that's affected NFCs at all and how you guys are addressing difficulties, if you've had them, about keeping employees around, or if there's any changes to employee benefits at BCU, things like that.
Yeah, Haley, thanks for the question. I think I'd start with Beverly in terms of, what are you seeing in terms of our workforce currently?
I'll start, and Scott, I'll hand it right over to you. Certainly, it's an incredibly strange time in the market around labor. And it's not just frontline labor, it's everywhere. I showed up and immediately started to talk about, okay, hey guys, when are you coming back into the office? And whoa, that was not received well. So I did a little backpedal, and we're listening to employees and trying to figure it out. But I think the pandemic has really given people a sense of what they believe flexibility and freedom feels like. And I think what that means is it forces all companies, whether you're small or larger like BECU, to think about what that value proposition is for employees. What is the definition of work, and how do you make it meaningful? One of the things we've been talking about as we think about people returning to the office is not necessarily returning to the office, but returning to connectedness, returning to collaboration. What our employees are telling us is, if it's an intentioned reason for me to come in, if there's a need, Rick held these incredible kind of data and analytic workshops, and people were in. And so if we find reasons for people to want to come in and want to connect with one another, connect to the purpose, and collaborate, I think those are the kinds of things. Scott can talk about what we've done specifically to get that frontline employee in, and maybe some things that we've made some changes on.
Yeah, thanks, Bev, and it's a great question because all of us are struggling with labor, and even within our industry, our compadres and other credit unions here or in other parts of the country are really having some of the same challenges. And indeed, in our NFCs and our contact center, turnover rates are higher than other parts of the organization, and they shot up given the Great Resignation, and they're coming back down, but they're still higher than pre-pandemic levels. And so wages is clearly part of that. And so that's certainly something that we've done with more of our entry-level staff to increase their wage base, as well as the rates that we're hiring in at. We're doing things others are doing as well, like sign-on bonuses and things like that. But there's much more than that. We're trying to really enhance our onboarding experience. We are offering flexible remote work, but that does bring challenges, just like Bev said, in terms of the connectedness, and really having, kind of feeling of when you're new and you start virtually and you work virtually, all of us employees would talk about the secret sauce of what it's like being an employee at BECU, and if you don't have those connections, it makes it difficult, and employees, I think, to say it a little bluntly, are less sticky as a result. And so we're really looking at all the ways that we think about an employee onboarding, re-recruitment, and their whole employee experience. And so it's a challenge for us. We see signs that it's getting better. And we one other story. Recently, we went to Spokane and invited people that we have a contact center over there. and had a food truck and had an event there. And we had people that had never met before, you know, and they've been working together for 2 years. And even if they knew each other, they hadn't seen each other in a couple of years because our contact centers are fully remote, and that's the price of admission. If you try to hire contact people in our market, contact center people, if you make them come in, you know, to a site on a full-time basis, you probably can't hire them. And so we're really grappling with that, but really leaning in more on how we can really establish those connections and interactions, because the cultural impact of when we connect and as a community is really powerful in terms of an employee's you know, job satisfaction and satisfaction with the company and their willingness to stay and to promote us to others. And so, yeah, definitely a challenge, but I like to focus on it, and we're seeing that improve. So.
I want to thank you all for your questions and the discussion this evening. Thank you, executive management team, and we'll hand it over to Beverly to close us out.
Well, everybody, thank you so much. We know that you could have done anything with your evening tonight, so having you here with us is just a pleasure. We thank you for your commitment and your trust of us in serving your financial needs. We hope you'll stick with us for many, many years to come. We think the sky's the limit on the great work that we will continue to do on your behalf.